Hi, everybody. Greetings. Mm. Marina.
Hi, Isaac.
Hey, Marina.
Me. There's a lot moving at the moment.
The whole universe.
My daughter's been here back here from the eastern states for about a year, which has meant a lot to me. And they're moving to his parents' property because he doesn't want the jab, and they can't live on no job. So it's been a stressful week, and yeah, it's just a lot of grief and all sorts. Yeah.
Are you interested in playing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay.
It's interesting to just watch how consciousness functions, yeah? So we hear, we perceive everything through our senses. So this moment is a sensation.
Yeah.
And usually the sensations get interpreted through our conditioning and our trauma load. And that's so familiar. It's such familiar pathways, such familiar habits. A lot of it coming from generations back, just like being passed down. But if we look really deeply right this moment, just right now, do we really know what's going on? And yet, there's this, it's so quick that we come up with something. I mean, like really, it comes, when I say we come up with that habit of interpreting. So, for all you know, your daughter doing what she's doing is the best thing that ever happened for her. We really don't know. Yeah. But somehow then, it gets interpreted like I'm sad or something like that. And, I understand it. But really, when you look at it, it's like kind of, you've had a really sweet time with your daughter. I take it because, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, man, how lucky is that? Out of nowhere.
Lucky they've got lucky they've got a way out too, that they've got an option.
And they're taking care of themselves. And now all of a sudden there's a smile.
It's lucky they've got an option.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it's so amazing, it's like we hear, and the history of mankind has been, people live in one place and all of a sudden, after having been there for generations, people have to pick up and leave with what's on their backs. And they start someplace else, or they don't, I mean, it's just the history of man. And I mean, I know tons of people that are thinking of leaving Australia. It's like, wow, it's so heavy here, like, who knows? It's just, you get the intuition to do something or you don't. And, oh, fuck, it's a tragedy, or it's not, or just, okay, it's just what's next.
Yeah.
So we hear, but the interpretation is always what causes us difficulty, it's like, and it's, yeah.
And
but
she's a nervous wreck, and then I feel how I merge into her feelings, worry, and the guilt comes up from, what happened when they were children. My guilt comes up around.
But even, one second, even to call it my guilt.
Yeah.
Right there, that movement. I mean, it's like how to catch each little movement. Like guilt arises, and then somehow it gets called my guilt. Otherwise, guilt arises. How long does it stay for? Usually not very long. If we just notice it comes, it goes. It's like passing. It's a guest, it just comes through and it's gone. Unless there's identification with it. You're frozen on my screen. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah. Let's keep saying the internet.
No worries. So it's like guilt arises. And unless there's identification, which nobody does, it's just a habit. It comes and it goes. Isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Just like laughter comes and it goes.
Yeah.
Or falling in love comes and it goes.
Yeah.
It's everything comes and goes.
I really noticed it the last week. I was after 11 years of being here. There was a lovely celebration. Yeah, and then the next minute, boom, I see my daughter today, and boom, yeah.
So it seems to me like once there's been that recognition that our nature is that capacity just to be aware, to notice. Then there has to be this like really fine noticing that starts to, you can see, doesn't bite into the story, and that will be, I guess, it'll refine itself and refine itself. It's just, yeah. So right here, right now,
It's
just
like a
hanging
hook.
out together. Yeah. It's just funny how, like, we've been programmed to think it's like when going to sleep happens, it usually happens too quick for us to even catch the moment. But we say, I'm going to sleep, but sleep sleep takes us. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm dying now. I mean, it's just, again, it's one of those things, dying is happening or it's not. And this idea that it's me that's doing that or something like that, it's just like, here we are. Yeah. Well, awareness is here. And then this whole just ever-changing sensations and the interpretation of them, and yeah. And so just, we've been talking for a few minutes. We haven't tried to change anything. How is it now in this moment?
Very much calmer. My nervous system's calmer.
Just calming down, yeah. So we're co-regulating here now, and how lovely. We can just hang out together and just this thing, nervous system calms down and there's not a problem in sight, it's just like that. So then, we could start bumping into, Judith had a similar question, actually. We start bumping into ideas that you float around, like, what's it? Bypassing, okay, yeah, bypassing. What does bypassing mean? Bypassing truth, bypassing, I mean, like, it's like, whatever comes up, there's a noticing of it. Now the question is, do we want to feed it?
Mm.
Do we want to, or are we interested in resting, as who we are? It's not like something comes up. And the difficulty is, we've told, okay, you have to be with what comes up and all that stuff. But it's again, to me, that seems like if we're being with something to get rid of it or with any agenda, we're not truly being with it.
Yeah.
And again, what are we being with? Like there's like guilt comes up. What is guilt? It's a sensation, an interpretation on it. So what are we being with, actually? It's like the moment it's like, I feel guilty or it's mine or something like that, then there's already an identification that's happened, and there's no longer, then all of a sudden there's a you that can be with it. There's a you and an it, and it's like out of nothing. It's like it's a magic show. Otherwise, it's just this passing flow of thoughts or feelings or interpretations, and yeah. That's why, for me, Ramana's invitation is so precise. It's just like, no matter what arises, it's like, okay, who's aware of it? There can only be one answer. It has to be, I am. And then who am I? It's just like, okay, that which is aware, it's like this. It just points you directly back without needing to do anything with it. Now, if it comes up and it's strong, usually it just means that there's an old trauma. And usually then we need to co-regulate. On our own, it's tricky, especially if we're trying to be with it. If we, if the interest is, okay, it came and I really don't have to feed it one more time, it's been fed thousands and thousands of times, it doesn't need to be fed again. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Isaac.
Love, peace, beauty. Judith.
Hi, Isaac.
Hi.
You answered already part of the question I had.
Okay. Yeah.
That's nice. But I like to inquire a little bit more.
Go for it.
Yeah. So the book that I'm reading, channeling from Yeshua and Maria Magdalena, and they speak with an ex-priest and he can ask questions. So on a certain point, they invite him to feel his feelings. And they say the feelings are the feminine. So actually by allowing to feel, you embrace the feminine as the part of God that is manifestation. So here it is interesting for me, the female part, the manifestation part of God, and awareness, the male part of God. And in the last session you called that, so that is an illusion and it is only being here. So my question was about, hey, what is that about emotions and being with it or not, or feeling it and falling through, embracing the feminine or not. And so here is the inquiry.
Yeah, so manifestation.
Yeah. You could say everything what is arising, everything is what is movement.
Okay, so let's just make a distinction.
Yeah.
So here's sensations.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the interpretation of the sensations manifestation?
Yes, it's a movement. It's a movement.
No, but you didn't answer the question. Is the interpretation? So for example, I'm sitting with you and a thought comes in my mind. She likes me or she doesn't like me. She finds me attractive or she doesn't find me attractive. Whatever the thoughts are, okay? And all of a sudden chemicals squirt in my body and I ask you, is this accurate what I'm perceiving, and you go, yes, it's accurate. Now we've got agreement about what's accurate.
Mhm.
But is that manifestation yet? Or when is it manifestation? It's like, so this interpretation is going on all the time. Everyone's seeing it differently. And so what is the manifestation?
Yeah, now then we had to talk about what you see as male, stillness, and female,
Okay.
what is movement. So I would say
Yeah, so
everything which is movement arises in stillness and is
seems like you're
manifestation.
not on this. Okay, so
That's manifestation,
is
I would say.
a dream manifestation when you're dreaming?
It's a movement, but it's
Okay, but
happening.
no, we're looking very clearly just at this
Yeah.
word manifestation. Is a dream manifestation?
Now I had to ask you first, what is your meaning of manifestation? What do
Yes,
you
I'm
see as
asking you-
manifestation?
You brought it.
Yes.
You brought it as manifestation. So I'm here. To
Yeah.
me, it seems like, the sensations. Without the
Okay.
interpretation, what's here?
This.
This, yeah. And we can't say what it is.
Yeah.
So, but the question is, you see, because when people talk about manifestation or the feminine or whatever, and they're talking about, okay, your feelings. And again, just by saying your feelings, rather than movements or, like calling it what it is like conditioning, which isn't yours, filtering and experiencing happening out of that. But it's a verb, it's not even a noun, it's not an experience, it's just something that's ever changing. And then when there's either suppression, which, again, nobody does, that would be like an old program or something, that certain interpretations are not allowed, or there's some wanting to get rid of it, or wanting to change it, or wanting to not have it. Any of those movements are going to produce a dream, basically, a nightmare. And is that manifestation? See, so for me, I need to be very precise, because otherwise people get a very crazy idea. Look, you've got to be with a dream. Yeah. And to me, it's like, why? It's like, I'm much more interested in resting. I would say, again, I can use words.
I get it. What you could say, if I may interrupt.
Yeah.
You also don't say, let I be a part of my dream or of the dream. Let I step into it. You don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't go into the dream. You just, there was a dream.
That was
and
a
you
dream,
are out of the dream.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So to me, it's like, it catches us very quickly, because especially when there's charge to it, when it's touching an old, trauma or something like that. Just, I could say, just an information pocket that has charge to it. Almost always, automatically, there's a wanting to get rid of it, or wanting to change it. So there'll either be another layer on top of suppressing it, or, like getting some sense of identity from it. There's something wrong with me. All those movements. And if any of those movements happen,
you are already in the loop. Then the loop is
you're
already
in the loop,
there.
and you know it because it loops. It exactly, that's exactly it. It loops. It doesn't, it's just like, okay, this ever-changing, like if we want to talk about manifestation, we got to talk about this ever-changing.
Yeah, that's manifestation. Ever movement, moving, ever changing, always moving.
And so, like in the Hindu thing, they talk about Shiva and Shakti. Yeah, and Shakti is movement. It's just a movement, but it's movement. It's not a stuck movement.
I would call that manifestation, the movement, constant movement.
Just the constant movement, but in a certain sense, there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's the other side again.
Yeah, because it's changing every second. I don't know if that makes it more clear. I know you're keen to.
I'm keen. Oh, let's bring in one more thing about this topic, as is possible. I worked with a Belgian shamanistic biodanza couple, and they were giving sessions, and I spoke with them also about emotions, and they have the experience with one guy who was very well experienced in somatic experiencing, that he was very good in sensing the sensations, but that they had to learn him again to feel his emotions, because they said healing is needed on another part of the brain. So it's important not to skip the emotions, but also give space. Yeah, that was their feeling about it, or their experience.
So tell me the difference between these two statements. Judith, you need to feel your emotions. Or Judith, as awareness, the emotions that arise, which don't belong to anyone, come and go. And as they're coming and going, there's a beautiful opportunity to notice any resistances, any ways in which it gets fed. Not by you, but by the unconscious habits. Very different ways of looking at it.
Yes. This what you speak about is finer. It's way finer, and not
finer and
suppressing.
No identification.
And not suppressing, but allowing it to be in consciousness, and that is enough. Just enough to let it be in consciousness.
And that it's not yours, it doesn't belong to anyone, it's just something floating. I mean, it just moves through, it's just like this.
Thank you.
You see, it's rare that I've met anyone that speaks about emotions. Like the word literally means with movement. With movement. And it's actually a movement away from sensation. So it's like a sensation arises, or there's sensations, and then the interpretation happens, and the movement is actually with the interpretation. So, if we're resting here, and it's like an interpretation comes, whatever it is, I don't know what. Something, it's like, okay, you're rejecting me. Again, it's just, you are rejecting me. Now, all of a sudden, I mean, that's a whole, it's like I gotta say, it's like a saga, it's not just this, but in that, then there would be an emotion. And the emotion would be to the interpretation. It's not, I mean, we're just sitting here. If I'm just sitting here resting, no interpretation. It's just like, wow, there's no one here. There's no boundaries. There's no problem. But the moment that,
Yeah.
That's why it's called Maya, because it's seductive. It pulls us into,
Yes.
it pulls attention into feeding something that actually is painful and produces a sense of me. That's why I love that, that story from when Yogananda was visiting Ramana Maharishi, and he said, what can we do to help all these people that are suffering? And Ramana just said, find out who's suffering. Because there is no one that's suffering. The sense of suffering and the sense of I arise simultaneously.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand.
It goes hand in hand. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Now we can rest.
And we love that.
Yeah, and I must say
It's
I
the
was
most-
already resting.
Yeah,
Resting was already happening.
Yeah, and it's nice to get clarity because you
Yeah,
read
I
something
love
and
it.
it's like, and it spins the mind in some way, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong, Mom.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, then
so-
that's true. Then I love to really inquire how it works and what is said, and
yeah,
it needs clarity about it.
yeah.
What do you have around your wrist? I see a light.
Yeah. This is it's got a red laser light, and it like the blood is close to the surface here, so it's the lasers. Supposedly it helps with high blood pressure. So I don't know.
Cool.
I haven't noticed much of a difference, but it's already finished its cycle, so I can take it off. Just finished.
Good.
Yeah, there's more and more, people doing research with like different kinds of laser light for healing and stuff. And for some things, it's really good. And
You try
I
it
like
out.
to play with those things.
Yeah.
Play. Thanks, Judith.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you. Eva. Can you see me? I can't hear you, so you need to, on the bottom left of your screen is a little red thing that you need to unmute. Can you see that little red thing on the bottom left of your screen? Yep, you did it. But wait. I'll show you anyway. Now it says you're connected. Oh, but then you've got to unmute again one more time. That red button. There, I hear you.
Yeah, does it work now?
Now it works.
Can you hear me? Yeah, because it
Yeah.
said you are not connected with the microphone or something. So there was something
Okay.
wrong before. Okay, now it works. Good.
Now it's working. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good morning. Good evening for you. Good morning to everybody in Europe. Yeah, I'm. The emotions are really strong right now, and it's about loss and grieving and separation, and it's coming again, waves, and I don't know how to deal with that, because any other emotion, okay, comes and goes, but that is feels so real when somebody rejects. The man I loved rejects me, and I know he's with somebody else. It's so painful. It's just it's physically painful for me. And it feels so real, and I cannot just sit and say, oh, all this is not happening to me. I don't feel anything. I feel it. I'm a being with emotions. And it even it's the not wanting, it makes it even worse. Like, I don't want to be a jealous person. I don't want to be a possessive person. I don't want to cling to somebody. But it happens.
So the way you speak, there's zero inquiry. You're just saying, this is how it is.
Yeah.
And so I can say, okay, that's how it is. That's suffering. For sure, that's suffering, Eva.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So how to...
No, now something is coming. Yeah. How to what?
How to be with this suffering without suffering. When it feels so overwhelmingly big.
Yeah. But so I have a question for you already.
Yeah.
Just since we're talking now, is it the same or is it different? just honestly, but yes,
Yeah,
you've been,
it's
you know, yeah.
it's different because um, the automatic loop
Yeah.
of projecting
Yeah.
into it's autumn, I will always be alone, da da da, stops for a minute.
Yes, exactly. And that's honest.
Yeah. And the pain is still there, but it's not like it's an eternal thing.
Let's take a moment and see this pain, yeah, what you're calling
Yeah.
pain. Where in the body do you feel it?
Yeah. By heart.
In the heart, okay. Yeah.
And also in
And
my
so
throat.
just rest. Yeah. So very gently, if it's possible, just for a moment.
Mhm.
See, like immediately from it getting quieter, now it got more into the loop again, yeah?
Could you repeat? I didn't understand.
Sure. Yeah. It started to get easier,
Yeah.
and then it started to get more momentum again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. It's like I can catch these thought loops coming, Yes.
and
Beautiful, beautiful.
then I
Yeah.
just it's like I have a millisecond of choice to let them in or not, but it's really
Exactly.
a millisecond.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's something attractive about suffering, and
Yeah.
you know,
Somehow it seems to be.
yeah.
Something seems to get some value out of it. I don't know.
Out of
I don't agree.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we would never do it consciously. It's always like it's like an old habit, and it just plays
Yeah.
somewhere, and then starts to loop, and then it's identification is already happening, and then it
No,
just kind of
nobody would ever choose torture
nah.
consciously.
Exactly, it's torture. It
It's
is torture,
torture.
and nobody does it to
Cannot sleep.
themselves.
You
It's
can.
just like this. Yeah,
Yeah. It
can't
is.
eat nothing. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So, what is this good for?
What it's good for is it starts to bring that microsecond into view of not going with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I mean, from a Tibetan point of view, I don't even know if this is true, but you know, when the transitioning period that some people call dying is happening, you know, we go through a lot of different you could say, where we can get involved in things that cause us rebirth or, you know, difficulty. And
Yeah.
having really discerned in this lifetime, used this lifetime for
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
very good at that microsecond,
Yeah.
then you can pass through that that bardo, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I've
from a
read
Tibetan
the
point of view.
Tibetan book of
Yeah.
death. Yeah.
The-
Yeah. I
yeah.
know. Yeah. Yeah, it's like that. It's very 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 fine line.
Yeah. And just as we resting here this moment, just here,
Yeah.
how much love is there allowed to be here in this moment?
How much
How much love?
love?
How much love flow? Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, cool. Isn't it? Yeah, and how good does that feel? Just to love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
Without wanting something back.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Beautiful, Ava. Yeah. And then those on tears of sadness, those are tears of joy. Then you know, it's just like overflow. Yeah.
Yeah. There's,
Thanks, Ava.
yeah. There's nothing wrong with the tears. It's just flowing.
No, nothing. Nothing wrong with anything, actually.
Yeah. Thank you, Isaac, again.
Ah, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Lily.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I feel lost somehow. Can you say something?
Say again.
I said I feel lost somehow. I don't, it's like, I want to rest. There's some movement I've never seen before, and I don't recognize it, and the mind wants to know what it is. Okay, so now I feel like I don't know. Like there's something wrong, okay. The mind. Oh, okay. Oh, right. Oh. Oh.
So
Yeah.
there's an activity that functions, that wants to know what's going on. So just notice that activity.
Okay.
And honor it.
Wow.
It's just
It's
in the
quite
background.
hard, really. Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of, in a certain way, it's like it's judging and evaluating and
Yep. Everything.
just
Yeah.
everything. It's just like that. And
Oh.
so it's just an activity. It's very familiar. It's, for most of us, it's been in the background almost all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So that activity is coming into view now. Just honoring it. It's not wrong. It's not bad. But just being aware of that activity doing its thing. It's, how am I doing? Is this okay? This is like whatever. Just
Oh.
and then, you know,
I could see it. It was going through all the chakras, like it was like affecting.
yeah.
Well, everything.
Yeah, and it, you know, of course, it's going to interpret everything through its conditioning, through everything it's heard and everything it's read, and you know, it's just like, so there's something finer than that activity, you know, like we could call that just to like, we can call that activity an activity of mind, you know, like an old activity that wants to know, that wants to keep us on the right track. But then there's a fine activity that's like discerning. It's just like, it's okay, it's aware of that other activity and it goes, wait a second, that's not so interesting actually, because that's pretty coarse. It's yeah. And that finer activity is just like it's so fine, you know. Papaji would say it's like a swan that if you mix milk with water, it can just drink the milk out of the water. It won't drink the water. It's so fine. It's just sipping the love, you could say. It's not sipping the sense of something's wrong. It's sipping on nectar. It's like yeah. It's a much finer activity. It's much finer. It's like Yeah. I wonder what's happening in astrology. Like tonight's quite an emotional night, it seems.
It's very disruptive energy since last week. Like things that never happened to me for a long, long time started to surface.
Play, yeah. Really.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in Scorpio. Forgot about that. Connie. Yes. Sandra.
Hey, Isaac.
Hi, Sandra.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Sandra.
Isaac, it seems that this system is struggling with something, and it's about having to take on roles and knowing there is no one to take on a role, and yet there are sometimes circumstances in life, like work, where it looks like that I have to take on a role, and yeah. How to deal with it. I can see that there always identification happens again and again.
You know, it's like in like in Hollywood, people given a role to play, and they play it, yeah.
Yeah.
And they know it's a role. They know they're just playing that role. So whatever role you get to cast in, so to speak, in the movie, you just play your part.
Yeah, yeah. And I completely agree, Isaac. And that is what is seen also. And it's just sometimes it's possible to see that it's just acting and it's a play, a game in this whole movie or game or whatever. And sometimes there is a buying into it. And there is just this scene when there is this buying into it, it becomes serious. And at once, it's like the whole system gets like uptight.
Exactly.
And then when it's seen through, it's like, whoa, the system is relaxing again. But
so it just seems like that this is now, like this fine capacity that is starting to notice that just making very, like very subtle adjustments, oh, okay, that's how that plays.
Yeah, and what is seen right now is that sometimes there is this wanting that everything goes quicker, that it's like seeing every moment, it's just a game, and but that it doesn't work like this. It seems that things have to be seen through somehow. I don't know.
I mean, somehow here it just seems like it just all seems to happen by itself. I mean, there's no one left to do anything about anything. It's just like something comes up and some mornings there's an interest to exercise, other mornings there isn't. None of it means anything. I don't know. It's like
That sounds very relaxing.
yeah. It's so funny, Mike and I have this funny thing where we like to play a bit of cards and backgammon, and it's like, and then you play and you lose. Then there's just you're throwing these dice, and so you're winning or you're losing, and it's like it's, and then it's like, oh shit, oh great, oh no, and it just it's like so absurd in a certain way, it's just like. It's like it really, in a lot of times we can't even remember, okay, how many games have we played and who's winning and who's losing. It's and yet it's fun just to watch. Does its dance.
Yeah, I see. So it's just resting again and again, and somehow letting that sink in and become stronger somehow in the system.
Yeah. And my sense is that, anything that there's a deep interest in does, it gets finer and finer and finer, but yet there's no chasing it. There's no trying to get it to get finer. It just, yeah, I'm here. This is here. It's not going anywhere. And this Isaac character, I mean, it does its thing.
Yeah, I can see that this chasing it still has a strong impact.
Yeah.
Mm. But it's good to speak it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Isaac. It's a lot of seeing, like how quick something moves, like in front of the heart, and this direct meeting is not possible anymore, and it's so subtle. It's so subtle, and I'm very happy. I'm happy to have you and the sun in my life. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Mhm.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sylvie, for hosting. Thank you all for showing up. Love, peace, beauty.